Hello, it's 1 p.m. here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, and this is the Ambassador. A conflict between M23 rebels and the Congolese army is causing a sharp increase in civilians' displacement. And in Los Angeles, a fast-moving wildfire that broke in the North Mountains last week is yet to be fully contained. We will bring you this and more of this. Good afternoon. To our first story, in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the ongoing conflict between M23 rebels and the Congolese army is causing a sharp increase in civilians' displacement. Thousands of people have fled the Zulu camp, a shelter for those already displaced by years of violence, as the fighting draws dangerously close to the provincial capital of Goma, with key towns falling to the rebels. Many families are once again forced to leave behind everything in search of safety, uncertain of where they will go next. Triza Chengo has more on the same.
Civilians have been fleeing the Nzulo camp for displaced people outside Goma in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo as fighting between M23 rebels and Congolese army approaches the provincial capital. The camp is filled with internally displaced people who have already fled at least once in the decades-long conflict that has created one of the world's most largest humanitarian crises. But amid an uptick in fight between the Congolese army and M23 rebels, they believe it is no longer safe to stay.
We're fleeing, but we don't know where we're going because everywhere the bombs are following us. We're fleeing because we noticed that the rebels have just taken the Ngwiro Hill. They're already close to here and we expect to receive a lot of bullets. That's why we decided to leave the camp and flee. We just learned that the M23 arrived in Ngwiro and we decided to leave the area because bullets and bombs are falling. We're afraid.
Congolese authorities said that M23 has seized the town of Minova, a key supply route to Goma, just 40 kilometers away, capturing several mining towns in the region. The United Nations on Monday said more than 237,000 people have been forced from their homes in the mineral-rich region since the start of the year. Rights group Amnesty International earlier this week called on the warring parties to stop using explosive weapons in densely populated areas. The M23 movement is a militant group composed of ethnic Tutsis who broke away from the Congolese army just over a decade ago. Rwanda denies accusations by the DRC and the United Nations that it supports the group with the troops and weapons. M23 is one of about 100 armed groups that have been vying for a foothold in mineral-rich eastern Congo since 1998, when the conflict began. More than 7 million people have been displaced. Numerous diplomatic initiatives by neighboring counties and others to resolve the conflict have failed. Triza Chengo, GBS News.
And now to our second story. In Los Angeles, supporters of immigrant rights gathered to oppose President Trump's mass deportation policies and his executive orders on immigration. The event included a bilingual vigil and a public meeting offering a legal advice and support to immigrants as Trump moves forward with his controversial immigration agenda. Irene Jugona reports.
Supporters of immigrant rights in Los Angeles have gathered to protest President Trump's hardline immigration policies. The rally comes as the president enforces mass deportation measures and takes steps to reverse Biden-era immigration policies. Organizers held a bilingual vigil offering legal advice and emotional support to immigrants facing uncertain futures. Since taking office, President Trump has ended the right to land, prioritizing the deportation of all undocumented individuals. His administration has also implemented tighter restrictions on asylum seekers and refugees, a move that has sparked outrage among immigrant rights advocates. In addition to these measures, Trump declared a state of emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border, further tightening immigration controls. Critics argue that these policies harm vulnerable communities and undermine human rights, leading to widespread protest and calls for change across the country.
I can't imagine losing my parents. It's difficult to even think about. I didn't want to think about it because if I were to lose my parents due to deportation, my whole world would fall apart.
As the debate over immigration policy intensifies, legal experts and activists continue to provide resources and advocacy for those affected by the administration's actions. With many immigrant families facing uncertain futures, the fight for immigrant rights shows no sign of slowing down. Irene Juguna, GBS News.
Now, a fast-moving wildfire broke out in the mountains north of Los Angeles, consuming an estimated 21 acre kilometers of land and prompting mass evacuations. The huge fire, which erupted in the Castaic Lake area, threatened the safety of thousands of local residents and sent a massive plume of smoke into the sky. Here is more on the scene.
The huge fire igniting in the Castaic Lake area of Los Angeles County has caused a wide-scale emergency leading to thousands of evacuation orders. Local authorities raised the alarm as the flames spread rapidly across trees and bushes, forcing residents to flee from their immediate danger zones. With strong Santa Ana winds fanning the fire, crews from the Los Angeles County Fire Department have been working around the clock to combat the blaze and keep it from moving towards more populated areas. Evacuation orders impacted over 180,000 people, with authorities urging everyone in the area to leave immediately. Economic losses estimated to top $250 billion. Firefighters continue to battle the flames as the residents of Castaic and the surrounding communities watch on with uncertainty. With more and more communities facing such deadly fires, the question remains, how will authorities respond to this escalating crisis, and what can be done to mitigate the impact of these frequent and destructive disasters? The long-term effects on both the environment and the people affected by these fires will be far-reaching, demanding urgent action and resilience in the face of climate-driven extreme weather events. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Now, Malian artist Rokia Traore, internationally renowned for her soulful voice and contributions to African music, is said to be released from Belgian prison. Traore's detention and legal battles stemming from a prolonged child custody dispute have cast a shadow over the illustrious career and humanitarian work. Joy Kuria has more on the same.
Rokia Traore, one of Africa's most celebrated vocalists, is preparing for her release from a Belgian prison. A 50-year-old singer has been behind bars since November, extradited from Italy to serve a 2-year sentence handed down in absentia by a Brussels court. The charges, tied to allegation of parental abduction, arose from a bitter custody battle with her Belgian partner over their 9-year-old daughter. The dispute, which has spanned years and crossed international borders, first led to Traore's first arrest in France in 2020 under a Belgian warrant. Despite her acclaim as an artist and her tenure as a UNHCR Goodwill ambassador, Traore has faced legal hurdles at every turn. After a failed appeal to Italy's highest court, she was transferred to Belgium late last year. Local reports, citing her legal team, confirmed that Traore is now set for release. This development marks a pivotal moment in a case that has highlighted the complicity of international custody law and challenges faced by public figures entangled in private legal disputes. As Traore regained her freedom, the focus turned to what lies ahead of the artist who has long been a voice of resilience and hope through her music. Joy Kuria, GBS News.
The ambassador will take a short break, but we'll be right back with more.
Are you all happy to see me? Yes, I'm also very happy to see you. We're going to make, ta-da, a banana milk package. Done with the banana milk package.
Here is where we keep it real. We talk about everything that affects women out here.
My community, like, we raise girls to be wives and something. So when it comes to kufanya like music, career, kukua nini, it's kind of difficult. But I decided to fight that. Like, mi pia niko na goals. I wanted one day nikuwe kwa TV. I wanted one day nifanye kwa radio.
The community that you came from, they believe that as a young girl, you need to get married, you need to take good care of your babies and your husband. But now you came out as a musician and you want to do your own things. How about your parents? Are they supporting you?
Mom went nikiwa mdogo sana, nikiwa class 4. My mom went na akatuacha na mzae. So I had no one to talk to. So the feelings and everything, nikikuwa na stress, I used to write. So hapo ndo mimi nilianza kuandika song. I guess my first song niliandika nikiwa class 4.
I'm so happy about you because wewe hata sijui, I don't know what triggered you. Ikamusha your alarm like you need to do this and you are raised in that community.
If you don't take care of yourself, you won't take care of them. Actually, mtu ndo alinipea one thing and it change nini yangu.
Everything.
We are going to be talking about goal setting itself and building resilience. Goal setting and building resilience.
So hawezi sema nita set goal then someone else akuja kuwork on the goal. Hawezi sema uta set goal yenyewe mwenyewe huwezi reach. Hawezi sema uta set goal na mali una stand like huwezi reach ile goal umeset.
Just imagine I've promised someone that I will do something to them by the end of this year, and then surely I fail. What will happen? You know, they will say Steve has broken my heart.
Nimeset hata mimi goals, but ni realistic goals.
Unajua aje ni realistic?
Because najua I'm capable of, like, they're realistic. They are making sense. Sijasema nanunua V8 by the end of the year, but because I know inaweza kuwa impossible because mtu anaangalianga si kumake tu. Unajua utaandika by December 31st nataka kuwa na iPhone 16 Pro.
It is insane to do the same thing and expect different results. Yeah, so definitely we need to see, like, if it is not working, what is in this system that is making this thing fail, and I'm expecting these results. How can I improve this project?
The goals that you set, maybe ukiona like maybe that can be affected by kitu huwezi avoid.
About self-competition. I'm only in competition with the person I see in the mirror, and that is me. So it is about my personal development.
It's not just a matter of writing and putting and now waiting, you know.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the Ambassador, and this is more on the news. President Donald Trump has called for Mexican drug cartels to be designated as foreign terrorist organizations, a move that could expand U.S. law enforcement, reaching over the criminals group, but also lead to strained U.S.-Mexico relations and impact migration policies and international business. Meanwhile, Trump plans to impose tariffs on China and European Union. Trump also stated that Russia will be sanctioned if they are not willing to negotiate for peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. Here is more on the scene. Abdihamid reports.
President Trump hopes to accomplish two key promises from his administration: combating illegal immigration and curbing drug trafficking. He aims to classify cartels like Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation alongside terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda, ISIS and Boko Haram, which could lead to more extensive sanctions and easier prosecution of individuals assisting these organizations.
So they are now designated as terrorist organizations, foreign, and Mexico probably doesn't want that.
However, analysts say this move is unlikely to change the landscape of the fight against drug cartels or change existing laws such as the Kingpin Act, which already provides U.S. authorities with tools to target criminal organizations. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum responded calmly to the proposal, stressing the need for both countries to work together to combat cartels while respecting Mexico's sovereignty.
People of Mexico can be sure that we will always defend our sovereignty and our independence. We are already in communication, whether today or tomorrow, to start bilateral talks, which are essential especially with the arrival of President Trump, to establish all communication, respectful dialogue between our countries.
In another news, Trump said in a press conference that he will impose tariff on China. This time he'll add 10% tariff to China.
Talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada.
He also said that the European Union will be imposed with tariff on their imported goods as a retaliation for not allowing American manufactured cars to be sold on their soil.
The European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They're going to be in for tariffs.
In the same press conference, he said Russia may face sanctions if they are not willing to negotiate for ending the war in Ukraine, which will enter its third year. U.S. President Donald Trump announced a significant private sector investment of up to $500 billion to develop infrastructure for artificial intelligence, a move aimed at outpacing rival nations in this crucial technology sector. Trump revealed that OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle will be partnering in a joint venture called Stargate to build data centers and generate over 100,000 jobs in the U.S.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs.
Trump has claimed the so-called bishop of the Washington National Cathedral owes the public an apology. His comments follows Episcopal Bishop Marian Edgar Buddy's plea for him to protect immigrants and respect gay rights. Post on Truth Social, he criticized the bishop, calling her tone nasty and labeling her statements as inappropriate. The question remains, how long will this aggressive foreign policy shape the U.S. global role in the coming years, and what are the long-term consequences of such a zero-tolerance approach to diplomacy and trade? Will the investment of AI without an oversight have negative impacts in the economic and social sectors? Only time will tell. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Italy is facing intense criticism after a Libyan warlord wanted by the International Criminal Court for war criminals were released due to a legal technicality. Osama al-Masri, who was being linked to severe abuses in Libyan detention centers, was detained in Italy earlier this week but was flown back to Libya after a court ruled that his arrest was procedurally flawed. Human rights groups and opposition lawmakers are now demanding answers from the Italian government. Teresa Tengo has more.
Osama al-Masri was detained in Turin on Sunday under the ICC warrant, which accused him of crimes linked to his role in Libyan detention centers. However, just days later, a Rome court ordered his release, citing a procedural error in his arrest. The decision has raised serious concerns about Italy's commitment to international justice. Al-Masri leads the Tripoli branch of the Reform and Rehabilitation Institution, a network of detention centers notorious for human rights abuses, including violence and sexual assault. Following his release, he has flown back to Tripoli on a plane operated by Italy's Secret Service, where he was welcomed by supporters celebrating his freedom. Human rights advocates are condemning this decision, calling it a betrayal of those who have suffered in Libyan detention centers under al-Masri's control. Opposition lawmakers are also demanding accountability, accusing the Italian government of hypocrisy, questioning why al-Masri, a man wanted for war crimes, was flown back to Libya. The Democratic Party has called on Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni to provide a detailed explanation in parliament, particularly regarding the abuses linked to al-Masri's role in Libyan prisons. The incident has raised concerns about Italy's migration policies, particularly its support for Libyan Coast Guard, which has been accused of working with paramilitary like those led by al-Masri to intercept and detain migrants. Human rights organizations argue that Italy's cooperation with Libya, including funding the Coast Guard, has enabled the continued abuse of migrants. As pressure mounts, Italy's Justice Minister Carlo Nordio has remained largely silent on the matter, refusing to answer tough questions about the decision. The International Criminal Court Prosecutor's Office has not yet commented on the case, but this case highlights the growing tension between Italy's internal policies and its commitment to international justice. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
China has launched its first heterogeneous humanoid robot training center in Shanghai Pudong District. The Killing training ground is poised to revolutionize robotics and AI and machine learning, aiming to train hundreds of robots in the coming years to support critical sectors like manufacturing and public services. Irene Juguna reports.
A groundbreaking move for the robotics industry, China has unveiled its first heterogeneous humanoid robot training center in the Pudong district of Shanghai. The Killing training ground is designed to advance the development of humanoid robots that focus.
On January 15, a ceasefire was announced in Gaza, bringing relief to Palestinians in the occupied West Bank who hoped for an end to Israel's devastating war on Gaza. However, the ceasefire has been followed by escalating Israeli violence in the West Bank, with severe consequences for the Palestinian population. Abdi Hamid Ali has more.
While Palestinians in the West Bank celebrated the ceasefire, local monitors have reported a dangerous spike in violence in the occupied territory. Israeli settlers have begun to expand illegal outposts and attack Palestinian villages, while Israeli military operations have intensified.
They started to call us via the drone to leave the neighborhoods and head to Outer Square. So we went towards Outer Square. I went with my mother and my family. They detained me. They put me inside a room. They asked me about my life. I said that we live in the camp, like other people. They asked about the situation inside the camp and told me people shoot towards us inside the camp. I told him I don't know anyone. I was staying at home. I only heard bombs and rockets. We couldn't leave home.
In response to the rising violence, Israel has expanded military operations in the West Bank. The most recent raid occurred in Jenin camp under the pretext of eliminating armed groups. This escalation is being seen as many as a sign of Israel's intention to crush resistance and further consolidate control over the West Bank. In this video, a young boy recorded his father's final moments when a sniper was shooting at them. The young boy survived, but his father was killed by the Israeli sniper. The young boy gave his testimony of his traumatic experience.
My father said from where we were there was nothing happening. Then Israeli soldiers started shooting. The bullets entered his body. He said, "Oh God." Then the car went so fast off the sidewalk and then into a post in the road. I jumped from the window.
Palestinians in the West Bank find themselves in a precarious position. The wider implication of this escalation is that they could lead to even more severe humanitarian crisis, displacement, and a further erosion of Palestinian rights. The situation remains dangerously fluid. As the violence spreads, the world will be left to witness a Palestinian struggle that seems far from reaching an end. Israel military have obstructed ambulances from going to the hospital, causing the death of a woman with severe injuries.
The Israeli army obstructed the ambulance from crossing a checkpoint. The doctor said in the report that if she had arrived early at the hospital, she would still be alive.
The current crisis in the West Bank is not just a conflict over land. It is a fight for the future of Palestinian people and their right to exist in their own homeland. As the violence escalates, the international community's response will be crucial in determining whether peace or future destruction will prevail in the region. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Over a month after a cyclone Chido tore through the French Indian Ocean island of Mayotte, leaving devastation in its wake, the island's schools are scrambling to rebuild and reopen, with classrooms destroyed and communities struggling to recover. The challenge of resuming education looms large. Joy Courier reports.
Scars of Cyclone Chido remain painfully visible across Mayotte. Schools that once stood as pillar of learning are now scenes of damage and loss. At least Des Petites Terres in Mamoudzou, firefighters and local teams are racing against time. Colonel Olivia Bruyere, leading the Southeast Squad, says securing safe space for students is their top priority. Colonel Bruyere explained that over 60 personnel have been deployed to the site to ensure classrooms were safe for use. The cyclone's aftermath has forced school to postpone reopening multiple times, with new storms threatening recovery efforts.
We deployed over 60 people on the site, aiming to secure as many classrooms as possible so that students can come back to safe buildings. We took out anything that could cause injuries, and we're covering everything with tarpaulin to keep things dry.
Assistant Headmistress Peggy Guilleres reflect on the challenges. According to Guilleres, significant structures, including part of the Student Union building, were heavily damaged. She noted that 12 classrooms were currently unusable, but emphasized that compared to other schools, the damage at their facility was relatively minimal. The return to school next week faces uncertainties, as many families are still without basic needs like shelter, water, and electricity. With the island infrastructure shaken, it's unclear how many of Mayotte's 117,000 students will attend. The memory of Cyclone Chido lingers, marked as the most destructive storm to hit Mayotte in nearly a century. It has left communities struggling to rebuild both lives and livelihoods. As the school bells prepare to ring once more, the people of Mayotte face the dual challenge of education and recovery, proving their resilience against the odds. Joy Courier, GBS News.
And that's all for the Ambassador News. With me, your Ambassador Paul Madenge. Meet me same place, same time, 1 p.m. You can follow all of our stories at GBS TV Africa. It's updated through the day. Thank you for your time and company.